doing the rest of the south, all the way to Midlands. Information, what's your speed connected by now? Good day, raise us to Midlands, 118665, 118665, good.
Now over the trees. Flown by Philip Pettit from Plain Sailing.
You can clearly see those big bubbles on the side of the...
big blisters.
Yeah, absolutely. So it gives them, people on board, a really good view.
World War II, those blisters had movable doors in the side, and you could swing machine guns out to operate from both sides. One of the instant recognition features there, and also you'll notice there are no wingtip floats. Well, apparently none. Those are actually retracted up into the wingtips and give the aircraft its overall span of about 104 feet.
Can you imagine the majesty of landing this aircraft on water?
I've been very fortunate to be in one with operations off a lake. That big hull there, and you can see at the very back end of the hull there is a step, and that's one of the parts of the takeoff when you actually put the power on and it starts to rise on that hull, and it gets up on the step and then basically just releases from the water. Has a speed of about 196 miles an hour, so it was no speedster for sure. It could actually cruise down to about 125 miles an hour, but its range was incredible, up to 6,600 kilometres, or about 3,600 nautical miles. Armament of either 1 or 2 30 calibre machine guns in the bow turret. 250 calibre in the blisters, 130 calibre in what they called a ventral position behind that fuselage step. There's actually a door that you can open up and point a machine gun down to protect the ventral part of the aircraft. It could carry 4,000 pounds of bombs, mines, depth charges, torpedoes, and some of the more inventive in the Royal Australian Air Force, they used to go out and harass the Japanese at night. What they do is they get beer bottles and they put a razor blade inside and then throw them out, and it made a hell of a din.
So a remarkable story that I was told was when a PBY piloted by Lieutenant Commander Adrian Marks rescued 56 sailors in high seas from a heavy cruiser, the Indianapolis, after the ship was sunk during World War II. And with no more room inside, the crew tied the sailors to the wings of the aircraft, and the aircraft couldn't fly in this state, so instead it acted as a lifeboat and literally taxied along to protect the all those people hanging on the outside of the aircraft from a shark attack.
Well, that
Amazing.
Indianapolis is very famous because it was the ship that delivered the atom bomb to the American forces and dropped from the Enola Gay. And after leaving from undertaking that mission, it was torpedoed, and most of the crew died from shark attack.
It's extraordinary that this, aircraft like this was able to save sailors from that.
This was its mission, Dumbo operations, and you think that they did that from the comfort of distance from Japanese islands. Very often they would be there flying off the islands while the Allies were attacking the Japanese forces, and if a pilot got into difficulties, they would land under fire to pick them up. Not only flying in the Pacific, but certainly flying in the Northern Hemisphere, and very, very famous for shadowing the Bismarck and leading to its destruction. US Navy Catalina also found the Japanese fleet approaching Midway Island, and a Royal Canadian Air Force Canso, which was the name that was applied to their aircraft. It discovered the Japanese fleet approaching Ceylon with the intention of destroying the Royal Navy Indian Ocean Fleet. Now, we spoke with Rick Peacock Edwards yesterday about that Japanese fleet, and his father was involved in protecting Ceylon from Trincomalee, the harbour.
And Rick is part of our display committee today, making sure that all the rules and regulations are abided by, and we give you a safe and secure display to watch. So the aircraft is affectionately known as Miss Pickup, and owned and operated by Plain Sailing, and the aircraft I think is currently based at Duxford in Cambridgeshire. Paul Warren Wilson, who was looking for a Catalina to replace one that they'd had originally, but it took them a little time because they were looking for something a little bit like a house, looking at something with a sound structure.
And as you look above to your right, the Strikemaster pair. Strikemaster was the end of a long line of aircraft progression in the training role. It started off with the piston engine Percival Provost, and they decided to upgrade that. It was a tail wheel machine. They decided to utilise components of that aircraft to produce the Jet Provost, the first one, and it was a very ungainly looking aircraft. Today's machine's flown by Ian Brett and Short Judentian. With a lot of modification and refinement, that first ungainly looking Jet Provost morphed into training machines that were used right up to the Mark V, used in various training establishments, including RAF Cranwell, 1967. Very close formation there. Very straight wing there, not designed for high-speed flight. Variants. Developed from the Jet Provost T Mark V, powered by the very, very reliable 3,100 pound thrust Rolls-Royce Viper engine that saw production and used in quite a lot of jet trainers. Of course, being the armed version, was fitted with two 7.62 machine guns, forward firing, 8 wing hard points, which were strengthened portions of the wing to carry pylons that would use various ordnance, about 3,000 pounds of bombs, air-to-ground rockets, napalm and long-range fuel tanks. Most comfortable position. The major difference between the trainer was the uprated engine, strengthened wing and hard points, the upgraded ejection seats as well. It also carried improved navigation and communications equipment. The different marks were allocated to the various export customers. Very reliable machines, very rugged. And they should be operating number 14 Squadron based at Ohakia. Their Strikemasters were generally referred to as the Blunty. These aircraft have a considerable service life with each of the countries with which they operated. As I said, the Kiwis ordered 16 in 1970 to replace the de Havilland Vampire, and it wasn't until 1992 that the last flight was undertaken by 3 Strikemasters out of Ohakia. Successful export, particularly to the Middle Eastern countries. The aircraft to be 418 knots, or about 770 kilometres an hour. Very, very happy down at low level, as we see here. Often flying at low level, doing what they call a pop-up manoeuvre when they approach their targets.
And former international rugby player, as well as a classic jet pilot. Raven 5 is flown by Ross Ewell, a former Sea Harrier pilot who now teaches the next generation of fighter pilots in RAF Valley. Blues to fly. Sid Shirley. He has led the team from the very beginning. together. On the right wing of the leader is Raven 2, flown by Patrick Wilson. Patrick is a charter airline pilot who also got married just a few days ago. I wonder if he's enjoying this more than the wedding. Ravens 1 to 3 line up for the cross break. What we call the cassette loop. His name from. Must have love in the air as they run in for the heart.
How would they get faster if they go over the side?
From the right, Ravens 1 to 3 for the caterpillar loop. Dedicating this show at Midlands Airfestival to a recently passed friend, supporter, and the team are now running in for the signature move called the Twizzles. Iconic helmets. Those who know the team well will have noticed we're rocking our new 2026 livery, which we think looks fantastic. So please, ladies and gentlemen, here comes Team Raven for the final manoeuvre. Please put your hands together for Team Raven. From the left, the team are running in for a run and break to land here at Ragley Hall.
Why don't they just retire, bro?
From someone with first-hand knowledge about what it takes to fly with Team Raven as Raven 7. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. That was only my second time commentating, so way more scary than flying.
I totally agree with you. What is it like, this transition that you've had? So you started as your first display at Midlands Airfield, Airfestival a few years ago, and each year we see you flying something more complicated, mismatched formations, and now part of this incredible formation team. How's that journey been for you?
Oh, it's been fantastic. Like I said, in 2023 was my first display here with my friend Ben, and that was a fairly nerve-wracking activity, slightly less than commentating, but training up to get up to the standard to do this.
And now, as a fully formed display pilot yourself, what's it like welcoming your dad into the display world?
Yes, a tremendous display. Opened the show this morning. It was wonderful. It was great to see, and it was great to see the aeroplane fly above the Ragley skies.
And has he come to you for any tips?
No, he's far more capable than I am in many ways, because he's been flying for many years. I haven't yet to see him, because I don't believe he's here. I need to go find him.
And you're based up at Slate?
Yep, the UK's best airfield, yeah.
Of course, and you organise your own event?
Indeed, yes, I run my own air show at Slate called Slate Gosh, which is like a fly-in air show / festival. So that's a lot of fun. That's only a couple of weeks away, so I'll be very big.
In the MiG-15 to start off with, from German design. Thinner wings, thinner tailplane, approaching Mach 1 speeds. The fuselage was extended, but the majority of the MiG-15 airframe armament and undercarriage had actually been retained. Now this aircraft is the only MiG-17 flying in Europe. Very lethal shape. You can see on the top of the wings there are a number of wing fences incorporated this to axial flow, and stemming from the designs that were produced for the Luftwaffe in the Messerschmitt 262, the Arado 234, where the air goes straight down through the jet rather than being thrown out to the sides, compressed, and through the flame tube. Nice, low, slow pass. Brilliant for the photographers, even though it's a lovely aeroplane.
It's beautiful, isn't it? As Pete said, the MiG is celebrated for its incredible dogfighting and agility.
Getting exported to quite a few countries. Even though it had 223 and a 37mm cannon, same armament as the MiG-15. This was very lethal. In afterburner now.
Now, to figure out how to counter this Soviet aircraft, the US secretly evaluated and acquired MiG-17 under a project named Have Donut. The results were staggering. Almost every naval pilot engaged lost their first dogfight against the agile MiG, and these test flights eventually revolutionised American air combat and birthed the legendary Top Gun flying fighter school.
The aircraft really did benefit from that German swept-wing technology, but not only that, during the Korean War, the stable gun platform, again, 37mm and 223mm cannons. In the Lim 5, which was built in Poland, and the Lim 6 actually had some hard points under the wings where you could carry pods for air-to-ground rockets. Configured pass there. One of the instant recognition features for the MiG-15 and the MiG-17 was staged during the Arab-Israeli wars, in Africa, in North Korea as well, with the MiG-15. I just cannot understand the thought processes that gave away the country's best jet engine design. licensed versions of the 17 produced in China as the Shenyang J5, and that is one of the things which makes the MiG an incredible fighting. And as you climb, you can suddenly see the snowy mountains, then you can see Victoria, and I swear I could see all the way down to the Tasman Strait. Brilliant aeroplane. This is the last pass coming up. So two-seater, single-seater MiG-17, operated by this company and the 17, and they are hoping to get more MiGs in the stable. Big wave, ladies and gentlemen, for Bartos. Yes, I do believe that the posters are going like hotcakes.
If you like your 1930s aviation art, which I love, really love, this is
wonderful.
It's a very special print which will look beautiful, framed either living room wall or indeed, as you said, your hangar. Should you have one?
Well, hopefully I do by the end of the year, or at least early next year, and I'll have a Spitfire 90th anniversary. Wow.
I can hear a helicopter. Here we go.
10.
Hands in the air, ladies and gentlemen, as the helicopter that ferries Red 10 around the country comes in to see us. We've got one of our ground team in his very fetching high-vis orange, waiting with his batons, ready to guide the helicopter into landing front and centre.
Red 10, Squadron Leader Stuart Roberts. I think we should be calling out Robbie when he arrives. Give him a huge Ragley welcome.
So Stuart is no stranger to the Red Arrows. He flew with the team in their 2022 season and was part of their 60th anniversary Diamond Display campaign.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as they move away from the aircraft, give them a wonderful Ragley welcome. A round of applause to Red 10 Squadron Leader Stuart Roberts. Robbie, big round of applause. Wave. His first Midlands Airfestival and the first show for the year. Most unusual aircraft, actually developed from the Grumman S2 Tracker anti-submarine aircraft. Looks like display has been approved. Now coming in from your right at Warp 9, the Turbo Firecat. And he built 35 of these, specifically designed for firebombing. Most unusual to see that aircraft, and particularly hear it without the grumble of the big right engines, the piston engines, powered by two 1220 shaft horsepower Pratt & Whitney Canada PT6 turboprops, because this is probably the most numerous and most reliable turboprop built anywhere in the world these days. Modifications were developed by Conair in-house for the firefighting and engine replacement by the maintenance arm of the Conair Group. And you can see there dropping. That's what it does in real life. Installation in the Firecat required considerable rework of the fuselage, including raising the floor by 200 millimetres or about 8 inches over the torpedo bay, and the removal of all superfluous military equipment, and that reduced the overall weight by about 1,500 kilograms. The turbo Firecat further enlarged the retardant tank to 4 compartments, totalling 3,292 litres, and saw the installation of the much lighter 1,220 shaft horsepower PT6. The aircraft's avionics suite was considerably enhanced and fitted with GPS. They were operated by Conair for the governments of the Canadian provinces of Ontario and Saskatchewan. They can actually do a running drop, or they can do what they call crown busting drops, where everything goes out in one hit to take out crown fires. French Security Civil operated 19 Firecats and turbo Firecats between 1982 and 2020. This one, Tanker 15, was manufactured by Grumman as an S2F tracker. It was converted in 1966 to a US-2A aircraft and assigned to the Naval Air Station, Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. Ended its career after time in Japan by being transferred to the continental United States to the Alameda Naval Air Station in California, right on San Francisco Bay. Placed in long-term storage, in '85 it was purchased by Conair and converted to a piston engine Firecat. Now it was one of the ones that were destined to go to France. Their civil defence agency of the French government, responsible for the protection of the French population from all sorts of things, including fires. In September 2001, one of their pilots had to force land on the Caen track. There was minimal damage, and in the recording it says minimal damage apart from the engines and propellers. Quite obviously a very expensive forced landing. In September 2019, it was withdrawn from service with some 15,000 total hours. 2023, acquired by A3A, as the company is known, for airworthy restoration and display. First registered Foxtrot Alpha Yankee Foxtrot Tango with the first flight in October 23. You can actually go onto the website and follow the individual history of this particular aircraft, everything that it did. A3A stands for Amicale Alenconnaise des Avions Anciens. My French is abysmal. The group aims to safeguard French aeronautical heritage by the recovery and restoration of aircraft, with a constant aim of reflying these aircraft linked to French national air history. Also includes training and integration of youth into different technical branches of aeronautics through practical applications offered by the maintenance of the entire fleet. A lot of students involved in this particular organisation. Group is based and flies these aircraft out of Henry Potez Amiens International Airport. It is not until you have actually experienced a bushfire that you really know how bad it can be. You cannot outrun it, and you are reliant upon aerial attack mostly to try and quell the fire as much as possible before coming back in now. You can just see it over the tops of the trees to our right.
That was easy. Where are your parents? Because you went fast.
Announcing the Royal Air Force and the very breasted British, the 2026 Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the Red Arrows. As the team heads skyward, you'll see them collapse into 7 Arrow. They'll apex the loop at over 6,000 feet, nearly a mile high, slowing to 120 miles an hour, and they'll get a great view of you all sat here watching. As the team twist round to the right, they're led this year in his final year by Wing Commander John Bond. He'll have completed an incredible 8 seasons of display flying with the Red Arrows, making him one of the most experienced display pilots we've had. On his right-hand side, just 6 to 8 feet away, is Flight Lieutenant Rob Thomas. He's in his 2nd year in the team, and he's a former Typhoon pilot and has spent time overseas in Saudi Arabia teaching on the Hawk T-165. As the team sweep past, the first part of the show is designed to demonstrate the aircraft flying as one. The team pilots are listening to the cadence of the boss's commands. As they reverse to the left, on the left-hand side is Flight Lieutenant Andy McEwen. He's a former F-35 stealth fighter pilot from RAF Marham, and he's also been on exchange with the US Marine Corps flying the AVAB Harrier II. As the boss calls Concorde go, the wings slide backwards in a cadence honed over winter training. The wings are now 180 feet away from the boss, and as they roll out, you'll note the iconic nod of the shape to Concorde. As the team heads skyward again, they're pulling 4G, their bodies weighing 4 times they do normally. As they do so, they'll switch and you see them move into Eagle. Nearly 50 years old. The loop and twist you've just seen will have been felt and handled by the pilots through the control column. All the changes in aerodynamic loads and G-forces need to be managed, making smooth controlled display flying really difficult. As you keep looking out to the front, you'll see Red 7 switching to the back of the formation in our longest shape. Wherever they are in the formation, they're all taking their references from the team leader. Coming around from the front with a splash of colour, this is Blackbird. to change. Reds 6 and 7 are going to move out into our widest shape at over 280 feet across. As they position in for Big 7, this is one of the technically challenging parts of the first half, and in a display of coordination and flying skill, this is the setup for the Big 7 roll. Watch out for the change of colour. As the team fly away into the distance, the iconic smoke trails are generated in the hot exhaust of the aircraft. Each aircraft can contain 5 minutes of white and a minute each of red and blue. These are pilot selectable in cockpit and have to be done at the right time. They also have to be carefully choreographed to make sure they last the entire duration of the show. The team are now hidden behind the trees out to the left-hand side. They're decelerating and deploying their air brakes to increase the drag. In a hark back to the previous 7-ship iterations, we're flying a manoeuvre that hasn't been seen for nearly 30 years. This is setting up for the 7-ship rollbacks. As the team appear from the trees on the left-hand side, they're going to fly coordinated rolls from the inside to the outside of the formation. I'm going to let you enjoy the sights and sounds of rollbacks. Dropping off the wings to set up in trail. Red 4 is squadron leader Chris McCann. He's in his final year in the team and is a former Tornado GR4 pilot and a Hawk Aggressor pilot, helping to train the front line. Red 5 is Flight Lieutenant Dustin Wales. He's sat behind him. He's also in his final year with the team. He's a former Typhoon pilot. This is my favourite part of the first half. Get your cameras ready for Tornado. As Red 5 calls aboard, they're setting up in coordinated rolls around the formation. Keep watching for the colour change as the team come round to the right. Whether supporting humanitarian response, maritime patrol, or striking deep within hostile territory, the RAF has a unique ability to rapidly deliver precision effects across the globe. As we begin the second half of the show, we aim to demonstrate this flexibility and agility as the team breaks down into smaller sections and more dynamic manoeuvring. Running in from the left, they're setting up for the 3-4 split. As the formation splits in front, responsible for looking after the training for the synchro section, and Hannah. As they set up for the first head-to-head pass of the show, this is all done visually judged using ground features and matched flying. Ladies and gentlemen, get your cameras ready for the 3-4 cross. Keep watching the 3 aircraft in front. Red 2 is dropping to the back of the formation. He's setting up to fly Twister, one of the more demanding moves for Reds 2 and 3 this year. He's going to fly barrel rolls around Reds 1 and 3's smoke with a continuously changing vector, making him fly the aircraft to the maximum of his performance. Not only is he flying those barrel rolls and working the aircraft hard, he's also having to change smoke at the same time. If you look out to the front, you should see the 4 aircraft of Reds 4, 5, 6 and 7 as they set up for their spectacular start to the second half. Reds 4 and 5 will roll around the outside of Reds 6 and 7 as they set up for the Hannah break. Suckling. He's in his first year as the synchro wingman and is a former Tornado GR4 pilot. The jets smoking in the minute are up on what we call the perch. They're using that to set up their spacing and timing to take out any wind errors to make sure they cross back at the centre of the show site. As they dive down, they're using learned ground features from map study to make sure they're in the right position. Closing at over 700 miles an hour and 100 feet above the trees, this is the setup for Hannah Pass. You'll see Reds 6 and 7 appear vertically as they pull up for boomerang, pulling 6G, working hard as their body weighs 6 times more than normal and all the blood tries to drain towards their legs. They're once again going to descend down towards 100 feet and accelerate up towards a closing speed of 700 miles an hour to cross at the centre of the show. Disappear out to the front. Keep your eyes out to the tree line on the right hand side. You'll shortly see Reds 1, 2, 3 and 5 ease up from behind the trees. They're just to the right of the big oak tree that you can see out to the right. Pulling up in line astern, Reds 1, 2, 3 and 5. Reds 2 and 3 is sandwiched between the boss and Red 5. This takes a huge amount of coordination, trust and skill and execution. Drawing a snake-like line through the sky, this is the serpent roll. There's no break for the pilots. They're going to move forward into a line abreast position that we call tango. They're going to pull up alongside the boss, but the pilots are looking down their shoulder line to hold the aircraft in line.
Go.
If you keep looking straight ahead, you'll see another iconic red arrow glamorous display moment. Synchro pull up into the vertical, setting up for the heart. Service in the military is demanding but incredibly rewarding. None of us could do our jobs effectively without our families, friends and loved ones. The heart's to recognise their dedication and thank them for their continued support. As it's only my third show commentating, I'd personally like to dedicate this to my wife and son who are here today, and for all their love and support they've given me. As Red 4 completes the spear, I've also been asked to give a shout out to Lynn and Nige Cull, who are celebrating their golden anniversary. They are Red 7's parents-in-law. As Red 6 and 7 tip in from the sides of the display site, they're setting up to cross in the middle. Again, taking out any winding errors and positioning to cross at the centre of display site. Get maximum radius turns towards each other. Each other at the back. Synchro departs down the line. Once again, look out towards the left-hand side. You'll see Warwick Reds 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 pulling up into the vertical. This one's probably a bit big for the cameras, so sit back, relax, and watch vertical break. Look out to the right-hand side over the trees again. You'll see Red 6 and 7 running back in. They're setting up for another new manoeuvre for this year, one that they've designed themselves. This is Sidewinder. Watch for Red 7 roll around and then stop the roll and reverse the direction. To keep the display fresh and exciting, we like to redesign it each year. This is done in consultation between the team leader and Reds 6 and 7. Designing new manoeuvres is challenging, trying to keep them repetitive and safe. Out to the left-hand side, we've got Synchro accelerating up to 460 miles an hour. They're going to intercept Reds 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, who are running in over the oak tree for Goose. You can see Red 6 and 7 diving down to rejoin with the other jets as they depart and turn off the smoke. They're setting up for the finale of the show. It's important to remember that the 7 aircraft and pilots you've seen here today are just the tip of the iceberg that's required to deliver this display. Bolstering the 7 display pilots you've seen, we have Reds 8 and 9, Flight Lieutenant Brighty and Christine. Matt's flying in the back with Red 3 today, and we wouldn't be able to do what we've done without them facilitating and supporting. They'll be joining the team to fly the aerobatic display in 2027. We also couldn't do any of the things that we do without our extraordinary ground support team known as the Blues. With roles ranging from engineering, ops support, photography, drivers, armourers, they're all vital for delivering the displays you see. No aircraft in the RAF would get airborne without the dedication and commitment of a vast team of people. If you're interested in finding out more, you can search for us on the internet or pop down and meet any of the team at the stand tomorrow. The team are running in from the crowd front again, and they're setting up for our final manoeuvre of the show. This is Cascade. It was last seen in 1997, and we've worked hard to bring this distinctive addition to the display back to you, and hope you agree it provides an awesome spectacle to finish the show. The team are going to loop in front of us and then depart over our heads. Towards us, please put your hands together and make some noise for the 2026 Red Arrows. On behalf of myself, the Red Arrows and the RAF, we hope you enjoyed the show. We'd like to thank you for coming out today, supporting these events and appreciating how amazing aviation is. We always love seeing your pictures, so please do link us in anything you put on social media using the hashtag.